So in our previous lecture, we talked about some of the considerations you might make when choosing an external database for your system that is potentially integrated with your Hadoop cluster. And we posed this scenario where you're building a massive stock trading system where maybe you want to run big analytics job on Hadoop or Spark in the background, but you still need to have some sort of a front-end interface to the actual stock trades themselves. So what would be a good choice of a database in this situation? In this case, we care about consistency above all else. We do have big data that we need to deal with, so we can't assume that this data will all fit on one server or that one server can even handle the transactions that we might require. And we really care about security and having outside support. So how would we attack this decision? Well, again, let's take a look at the CAP triangle. When we had to choose between consistency, availability, and partition tolerance, we've established that partition tolerance is a given. We know that we have enough data that we need to have partition, so that's non-negotiable. Our decision is between consistency and availability, and we've said that in this application, consistency is actually more important than availability. Obviously, we want both. Your stock trading system going down is not going to make for some very happy people, but it would be potentially worse if the actual data got corrupt and people were getting back different data than what was actually being put into the system. So we care about consistency and partition tolerance above all else. So that means we want to lean towards systems that are more like HBase or MongoDB, right? So these are going to be highly consistent because they have a single master, a single primary database that you all talk to. But because it has a single primary master, that means that there are some availability trade-offs if that primary master goes down. The system then needs to elect a new primary, and all of your application clients need to move over to that quickly. So this would seem to be the right choice here, but how would you choose between HBase and MongoDB? Well, remember, we talked about you wanted to have strong external support because you have a lot of security requirements in this system, and you're going to need some real expert advice on how to set this up properly. So in this case, I might lean towards something more like MongoDB, where there's a big company behind it that makes its living selling support for it. Now, there are other companies out there that do specialize in offering support for things like HBase or other Apache projects, so don't make that a hard decision there. Do your research, figure out what support is out there and what's their track record. Have these people actually supported applications like yours before that have the strict requirements that you actually have? And in this sort of a situation, finding the right partner to actually help you with the installation and administration of the database might guide you toward one technology over the other. But still, you want to understand what edge of the triangle that you're focusing on in this application. Now, I do want to point out again that the CAP theorem has kind of come under attack lately. There have been enough technological advances that it's no longer entirely true that you have to give up one for the other two. Like I talked about, Cassandra you can actually specify the amount of consistency that you want. So if you wanted to, you could make Cassandra work for this application. And Cassandra does also have professional companies behind it that offer support for it as well. So it would not be a crazy move to use Cassandra. It also would not be a crazy move to use MySQL. If you take a hard look at the scale of your data and how much partition tolerance you really need, maybe multiple shards of MySQL are okay. Maybe having a front-end application logic that actually knows which MySQL instance to talk to for a given range of transactions or a given set of stock ticker symbols or something like that would be a perfectly reasonable thing to do. So don't take the CAP theorem as gospel, but think of it more as a way of guiding you toward technologies that are really engineered from the ground up for the things that you're trying to achieve. So I would still stand by my choice of MongoDB or HBase in this sort of a situation. Again, the sort of support you can get is probably going to be more important given the security considerations that you have, but there are other considerations too, like simplicity. So if I already have a Hadoop cluster, HBase just sits on top of Hadoop. I don't need new servers. I don't need new processes. It's just sitting on top of the HDFS file system that you already have. So all things being equal, thinking about integration considerations, maybe HBase would be the right choice for you, if you already had a Hadoop cluster up and running that you wanted to use. So again, these decisions aren't easy. There's not going to be a right or wrong answer, but some answers will be better than others. Okay, so think about what your answer was and what your thought process was, compare it to my thought process, and hopefully you ended up in kind of the same ballpark. Again, there's no right or wrong answer, but some answers are better than others. So there you have a real-world example of actually choosing a database. Hope it demystifies it a little bit for you and makes you better understand the different trade-offs you're making in these different types of technologies. So there you have it, external databases with Hadoop.